Good evening, everybody. I would like to welcome you to the first of two, it's a special year, Jefferson Pilot Professor talks. Tonight's Jefferson Pilot Professor, Dr. William J. Grattan III, joined North Carolina Wesleyan College's English faculty in 2004 after earning his PhD in English and Creative Writing from the University of Missouri. He also holds an MFA in Creative Writing from the University of Texas El Paso and an MA in English and Creative Writing from the University of Ohio. Since joining the faculty at North Carolina Wesleyan, Dr. Grattan has taught numerous courses in writing and literature for the college and has actively engaged in his scholarly field, publishing a number of book reviews and 2 books of his own, Ghost Runners in 2002, and most recently, The Bully of Brantley, PA in 2019. Dr. Grattan has served as the advisor to the student news publication, The Decree, as program coordinator for the journalism minor, and as a member of 11 honors students' thesis committees. In 2020, Dr. Grattan earned the rank of full professor and was named as the 2021 Jefferson Pilot Professor. Please join me in welcoming and honoring Dr. Grattan in tonight's presentation of his creative work, Cousin Audrey.
So I just want everyone to see I have a sport coat on before I take it off. And get a YouTube video of how to find your sport coat in your closet. I thought we'd just go down the line and introduce ourselves first, and then we can get started. Roger?
I'm Roger Drake, I think.
Kimla Grant.
Gregory Spence.
Mary Frances Bush.
Tony Hefner.
Fred Sanborn.
Andrew Stern.
How's it? Can you guys hear me okay with my mask? Any wrestling? Andrew's making the ultimate sacrifice tonight. The Braves game started at 5 o'clock. So if he's looking down, it's he's not taking a nap.
They're up 4-2, by the way.
Okay, we're gonna get started. So these are 5 scenes I carved out of a fiction manuscript that I've been working on since 2018. I just thought it would be interesting to kind of do it this way instead of giving a straight reading. And we did practice a couple weeks ago. It went really well. And let's get started. Oh, you guys all have this. So the characters are on the back and the settings. And there's also a Pittsburgh Ease dictionary in case you get a little lost.
All right, our scene 1 characters, Father Horvath will be played by Andrew. Herb Kletter will be played by Tony. Audrey Walter will be played by Kimla. Anna Prather will be played by Mary. Robert Kravchuk is Roger. And Bill will be giving stage directions. The following scenes occurred during the mid-1980s when Pittsburgh and local river towns were devastated by the collapse of the steel industry. Many mills closed while some were bought by foreign investors and others were converted to mini mills that produced specialty metals. The collapse resulted in population losses that ran into the tens of thousands. Many steel workers changed careers, but many also left the area for blue-collar work in the South. Families were strained, alcoholism was rampant, and there was a spike in suicides. For this scene, it's a Wednesday night in early October. The scene takes place in the basement of St. Michael's Catholic Church in a large room that serves as a bingo hall as well as the site of fish fries, spaghetti dinners, and other fundraisers. 5 parish council members sit around a long table with budget packets and cups of coffee and cellophane packages of Lance peanut butter crackers. The newest council member, Anna Prather, takes minutes and records the votes. Audrey is the only member who has scrutinized the budget. Herb Kletter has read only the part that contains information on layoffs. Anna and Robert Kravchuk always rubber stamp Father Horvath's proposals. Note, there is a reference to the fans. In the 1970s, many Pittsburgh parishes sponsored a Vietnamese family displaced by the war. St. Michael's sponsored the fans. As the scene opens, the meeting is in progress and Anna is reading announcements.
And Sister Aurelia is retiring after 37 years as an English teacher at our school.
I wrote left-handed until her penmanship class.
One of many that she converted.
She said left-handers were the devil's spawn. Then she cracked my hand with a ruler.
She must have mellowed by the time I had her, though there were always that threat of her whacking that ruler on you.
Oh, I
far as the fall festival, there was a net loss of $500.
I'm sure the fans enjoyed it. How much did the wife win in the raffle?
1,000.
I remember when it was $5,000.
Maybe she should give it back.
Would you?
No, but it's a completely different situation.
Anna rolls her eyes.
On to new business.
I motion we reinstate the grade school football team.
How many times are you gonna bring that up?
Herb shrugs.
My wife's doing. She wants me out of the house while I collect unemployment.
I thought you were staying out for a few months to decommission the mill.
I did, and that's over. As of last Monday, I'm unemployed. First time since I was 12.
I'm sorry.
How is it that St. Jude's has a team and we don't?
We've been through that. We can't afford the insurance with all the concussions and other injuries.
It's that one kid and his overprotective mother. When I played, I had at least half a dozen concussions. It's not a big deal.
There's a moment of silence.
What, you don't believe me?
We believe you.
Everyone laughs.
What about flag football?
Get serious.
We need to talk about the budget. You all got a copy from Mrs. Prather. Is there any discussion?
Maybe we should put the renovations to the rectory on hold.
And why is that?
I'm not sure that now is the time for you to buy a new desk, new bookcases, and a new bed and mattress.
Father Horvath's ears reddened. He was counting on the others not reading the budget.
I say we keep it all in the budget.
If we're furloughing staff, I'm not sure it's the right thing for Father to refurbish the rectory. I checked the past budgets. The mattress is only 2 years old.
The doctor told me I needed a new mattress for my back.
Well, both Odd and Anna make good points.
According to my estimate, it comes to more than $1,500.
Is that right?
Father Horvath nods.
That's a lot.
Would you like to put that in the form of a motion?
I move that we postpone purchasing new furniture for the rectory.
Father?
No.
Irv?
No.
Mr. Kravchuk?
No.
Mrs. Prather? Oh, that's me. I vote no. Audrey?
Yes.
Father Horvath, trying to hide his glee, smiles for just a second.
Next item is the layoffs. We've discussed the positions. Mrs. Prather, would you read them aloud?
Anna reads from a list that includes 10 positions, 5 cafeteria workers, a maintenance worker, an art teacher, a gym teacher, a music teacher, and an assistant librarian.
Mrs. Fritchie. I didn't know she was on the list.
We just added her.
I know she's been here a long time, but she doesn't have the librarian credentials that Mrs. Mellott has.
What about her kids' hourly, weekly story hour? The kids really, really love that.
The pastor does too. She's been a treasure.
Father Horvath purses his lips, pauses.
So, we follow precedent. Last man hired is first furloughed. Is there more discussion before we vote?
I'd like to offer an amendment. I think Sal should be the one who keeps his job in maintenance. I know his wife is my cousin and all, but I think he's earned the right. He's a hard worker.
Maybe you should abstain.
Fan wasn't supposed to be permanent. It was just a bridge job till his family got settled.
We're following the usual rules. Last man hired, first one furloughed.
But Sal needs the job.
Believe me, it pains me to lose him. All those in favor of Irv's amendment signify by saying aye.
Father?
No.
Irv?
Yes.
Mr. Kravchuk?
I'm siding with Irv. I vote yes.
Mrs. Prather votes no. Audrey?
I vote no.
Motion fails, 3-2.
Irv glares at Audrey.
All in favor of the budget, with the current list of furloughs included?
Furloughs. Just a soft way of saying you're fired. I've heard that word about 1,000 times in the last year.
Well, just imagine what it'll feel like to hear the words, "you're rehired."
In Japanese.
Motion to approve the 1983 budget as is. Father?
Yes.
Irv?
No.
Mr. K?
Yes.
Mrs. Prather votes yes. Audrey?
Yes.
Father Horvath's eyes travel around the table.
Thanks to all of you for your diligence and discretion. It was difficult, I know, but it was necessary.
Father Horvath, Anna, and Robert gathered their files in their styrofoam cups.
Audrey, Irv, care to join us in the dining room for a bite to eat? Mrs. Jablonski just got back from Squirrel Hill. She makes a mean corned beef sandwich. And I've liberated some of the communion wine.
Thanks, Father, but I need to get home. Maybe next time.
Irv?
No, thanks.
As the others exit the room, Audrey gathers her budget packet. Irv rises and stands at the table. Before he speaks, he takes a long look at Audrey, who's ready to leave.
What is it with you and the fans, huh?
What do you mean?
Isn't it time for them to give back a little? We bring them to our country, rent them a house, give them our clothes. For Christ's sakes, I still see the dad wearing one of my Steeler shirts around town.
We have a bunch of Steeler shirts from my late dad's at the house. You're about his size. I'd be glad to bring one over the next meeting. Do you prefer black or gold?
The wife's got a good job. I'm sure she could get him a job at that fish market she manages.
Audrey nods, remains silent.
The son went to our schools for free. Are we paying his Carnegie Mellon tuition too?
Audrey rises from the table and prepares to leave.
If you'll excuse me, my mother needs me to soak her feet and organize her pins.
I see a lot of taking and not much giving back.
I'm leaving now.
Irv grabs her by the arm as she passes him.
You don't understand.
Please let go of my arm.
Irv releases his grip.
You don't have kids. You don't know what it's like to tell them no all the time. No to Kennywood, no to the shore, no to a new outfit for the homecoming dance. Maybe your cousin has a dress that will fit you.
I'm sure it's really hard now.
Our Sally has wanted to go to Pitt ever since she was in kindergarten, and I took her to the stadium for a Panthers game.
Audrey smiles at him ruefully. She sits back down at the table.
She talks about it all the time. Now we gotta tell her she can't go. She'll be lucky to go to community.
There's a partner at my firm. He's on Pitt's board of trustees.
Irv tilts his head to the left. It's not clear if he's interested.
I'm happy to ask him about scholarships, other options.
No goddamn way.
Why?
My family isn't taking charity from some country clubber that represents U.S. Steel.
You don't know Mr. L. I'm sure if he knew your situation, he'd try to help. He's a very nice man.
Lewandowski? Him?
Audrey nods.
That guy that was all over the news last year? The one that stood in front of a judge and lied about our pensions bankrupting the company?
He was just doing his job.
Some job.
Irv pauses, if slowly recognizing Audrey's considerate gesture. Unable to express his appreciation, he relaxes and changes the subject.
Saw your cousin Nick the other day at the VFW. Said he's opening a bar, but didn't give many details.
Audrey once again gathers her belongings and gets ready to leave.
He's pretty stoked.
Where at?
16th Street, where Rudner's used to be.
He also told me you were dating Dom Martinek, my old coaching buddy. How's that going?
Fine. Why do you ask?
Irv grins.
Just wondering. Have a good night.
We're skipping over. It sounds like I'm complaining people are stealing my lines, but we're skipping over the stage direction. Scene 2.
Audrey will be read by Kimla. Dominic Martinek will be read by Greg. Irv Clutter will be read by Tony. Sally Clutter by Mary. And Bill will read the stage directions. So scene 2. It's almost a month later. Audrey's cousin Nick has gotten married to Vanessa. Audrey attended the wedding with her mother and her younger brother Frank, who's lost one part-time job and seen the hours cut at his other job at Schwartz's Market. Cousin Will made the 10-hour Greyhound ride from college to be there, but cousin Jake elected to go on a ski trip with Renee, his new girlfriend. For the family, Jake made up an excuse about excessive schoolwork and a job interview. Will's father skipped the ceremony as well, objecting on strict religious grounds, because Nick has married a divorcee with whom he lived during their engagement. The scene opens with Audrey at her twice-a-month volunteer gig, working as a clerk at a St. Vincent de Paul thrift shop. It's a Saturday after lunch. Audrey has been on the job since 9 o'clock. She's supposed to get relieved at 1 when her boyfriend, Dominic, will come to take her to town for an antique car show and then dinner. Audrey has brought in 24 glazed donuts from a local bakery. As she sips her coffee, she surveys the store. She has just finished unpacking boxes of clothes sent from suburban parishes, customers roam the aisles. Towards the back in the clothing section, there's a noisy group of college-age kids. 2 guys and a girl. They're all dressed in black, Doc Martens, black jeans, black t-shirts, numerous tattoos. The girl wears black lipstick and nail polish. She has a nose ring, her complexion very pale. Dominic comes into the store right at 1 o'clock.
Ready?
Audrey pauses from folding clothes. She accepts a kiss.
I'm afraid I need to stay a little longer.
You said 1.
I know. Karen just called there. Her little boy's sick. She's trying to get her mother to come and sit with him.
Karen, is that the one who works here as part of her parole?
Audrey nods. Dominic seems irritated. He sighs and then turns and catches a glimpse of the goth kids.
What the hell?
What?
Dominic points in the direction of the kids.
They've been here all morning.
Can't you get them to leave?
Audrey clucks.
What has gotten into you? They're not hurting anyone. They sing like good
She
kids.
smiles.
They've been buying up our stock of leisure suits to make Halloween costumes.
Good kids. What kind of good kids put nails through their nose? Do they live around here?
Audrey nods.
What the hell? I tell you, this neighborhood is going into the shitter.
Audrey reaches under the counter and grabs her purse. She takes out her wallet.
You must be starving. Why don't you pick up a sandwich at Payjack's and have a beer on me?
Dominic takes the money, then hesitates.
I need to ask a favor.
Audrey bats her eyelashes.
Sure.
I hate to ask, but I need $35 for my electric.
Just as the goth kids leave the store, Sally Clutter enters with her high school-aged daughter. Sally nods at Audrey and Dominic, who stops talking and smiles at them as they walk past.
Now, I'm afraid, I mean, I have the money, of course. I just can't get my hands on it at the moment. It's all tied up in my investments. And I just shelled out a fortune for my aunt's funeral.
Why didn't you tell me earlier?
Audrey hands Dominic 2 20s and a 10. After he leaves, Audrey goes to help the Clutters.
Don't worry, my husband isn't with us. He thinks we went window shopping in town.
Her daughter comes to Sally and shows her 2 sweaters. Sally inspects them.
She's really into vintage clothing. I say, we could get something nicer at Kaufman's downtown. But she prefers the old stuff.
There's some good finds here. My firm's partners bring their wives and their girlfriends to shop.
Let's start with one.
Audrey circles the store, straightening and folding clothes and replacing them on hangers, on shelves. In a little while, she notices the Clutters have headed to the cash register. She follows them. The daughter has put a blue sweater and 2 scarves, one blue, one saffron, on the counter.
You beat me to these scarves. Such beautiful colors, huh?
Audrey removes the price tags and begins to fold the scarves.
$2 for the scarves, $6 for the sweater.
How are Will and Jake? They're at Garrison, right?
Seeing that Sally is not really interested in the answer, Audrey gives an abridged version of the expansive, enthusiastic report she often provides about her young cousins.
They're fine. Coming home soon for Thanksgiving. Jake's a senior and Will is a sophomore.
Sally points to her daughter.
She might take a year off work. I've heard that college students do better after a year of the real world.
The girl blushes. Sally opens her wallet and fishes out a $10 bill, which she hands to Audrey. Audrey makes change and then looks under the counter at her stash of recycled shopping bags from local department stores. Audrey picks out a brown Kaufman's bag and slips the clothing into it. Just then, Dominic and Irv Clutter enter the store. Dominic is carrying a grease-stained to-go bag.
Look who I found holding forth at Payjack's.
Dominic smiles. Irv appears to be drunk.
I thought yins were headed to town.
Oh, busted.
We found some good stuff here. My friend told me about this place. It was right under our noses.
Irv grabs his wife's arm and takes and opens the Kaufman's bag. He paws through the merchandise.
No, no, no.
Irv approaches the counter with the bag in hand.
Your daughter has a great, terrific eye for color.
That's not the point.
Come on, Irv.
Sally glances at Audrey.
You guys lied to me.
What did you expect? You've been acting like a jerk with all your do's and don'ts.
My daughter's returning this stuff. She made a mistake.
Irv hands Audrey the receipt and then the bag of clothes.
It's not fair, Irv.
Did you think putting this stuff in a Kaufman's bag?
That's just the bags we use. I got gimbals, Joseph Holmes, sacks, even...
Here's the deal. I don't care how little you spent, or if you need this stuff, or what bag you try to hide it inside. You're not wearing some cake eater secondhand shit. It's not happening. You get me?
Scene 3.
In scene 3, Uncle John will be played by Tony, Nick will be played by Greg, and Bill will be doing stage directions again. The action takes place 3 weeks after the last scene. Audrey's brother Frank, driving drunk, has died in a car wreck. Will tries to get Jake to head to Pittsburgh for Frank's funeral, but Jake convinces Will to stay at school. While stressing the lengthy, time-consuming bus ride, he reminds Will that it's homecoming weekend and informs him that a fraternity brother has invited his sister, a freshman at Colgate, for the weekend. She is to be Will's blind date. We're in the basement game room of the house of Uncle John, Will's father. The family moved last year from the flats to Pittsburgh's east side, having bought a 5-bedroom house from an eye surgeon. Accompanied by his stepdaughter Sophia, Nick has come to ask his uncle to co-sign a loan so he can open a sports bar and stay with him. Nick was reluctant to come, but his wife persuaded him to suck up his pride and ask for help from his well-heeled uncle after the bank declined to loan him the money outright. Uncle John owns a nail manufacturing business, and Nick has just learned that Uncle John now buys metal from China. As Nick enters, Uncle John is playing pool, the air heavy with the scent of his cigar.
Nicholas.
Uncle, how are you?
Uncle John and Nick shake hands.
Not bad.
Nick walks around and looks into different rooms. He comes back.
I like the remodel.
Thanks. Did you enjoy the cottage?
We did. Thanks again. It was nice to get away. We're planning a formal honeymoon next summer. Atlantic City.
I had a local guy get it ready for you.
It was beautiful. Vanessa really enjoyed the break.
Uncle John points to the pool table with evident pride.
And that's my prized possession. Came all the way from Italy.
That's so?
Contractor buddy got a deal for me.
Nick runs his hand over the surface of the table.
It's really nice.
Father was here last week for a beer. We shot a game. He blessed it, said a prayer to St. Christopher, who's the patron saint, not just of travelers, but of sports. Who knew?
I thought St. Sebastian was the patron saint of athletes. I mean, that's what Father Pekarski told us before every football season.
With his opening hand, Uncle John points to the table.
You want to shoot a game?
Sure.
Uncle John racks the balls. Nick grabs a cue stick and applies a cube of blue chalk to the tip. Nick breaks. A solid red enters the far left-hand corner.
How's Vanessa?
She's great. I bought Sophia. She's upstairs with Aunt Alice.
Oh, my wife must be in her glory. She always wanted a little girl.
Nick lights a cigarette and clenches it in his mouth as he leans over the table to line up a shot. Seeing this, Uncle John raises a fuss.
Hey, 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 you gotta be careful you don't get ashes on the felt. This thing cost me like $3,000.
Sorry.
Uncle John points to the ashtray across the room on the bar.
How about smoking over there, huh?
Will do.
Nick notices an anthropology textbook on the coffee table by the couch.
Is Will here?
Nah, that's Alice. She's taking classes at Pitt. Something for her to do while Will's at school. Did you hear he quit football?
I did.
I don't know. What the hell?
Uncle John takes a shot and the green striped ball misses the middle pocket by 2 inches.
I guess he's doing all right, but he worries me a little.
How so?
Nick pockets the solid green ball.
He's been there like 3 semesters, and he's gone through about half a dozen majors. He went in intending to study business. I had hopes he would take over the factory, but it's become clear he's not inclined to it. Then he thought about math and engineering. Last time he was talking about English.
Really?
What the hell do you do with an English degree? Be a high school teacher? You can't make money at that.
What do I know? All my English teachers were nuns.
And he's not even getting good grades. I told him, get straightened out or you're transferring to a school closer to home.
I'm sure he'll find himself.
I'm even starting to wonder on the girls' front. He's been there 3 semesters and he's had like 1 date, he said.
He's just kind of shy. He'll do fine.
On the other hand, Jake is doing very well. This Lehman Brothers deal, it's all right.
I wouldn't have predicted it after all the trouble he got into as a kid.
I tell you, Will, you're never going to see so many cute girls in your life. No employer ever asked me about my grades. Get a college degree, but have some fun while you're at it.
Uncle John steps to the bar and takes a puff on his cigar, then replaces it in the ashtray.
Alice tells me you're planning to open a bar.
Yeah.
I always thought that would be an enjoyable business. A lot of work, but rewarding.
Uh-huh.
When are you planning to open? Alice said you picked out a place Dorothy Heller owns down on Carson Street.
Right at the intersection with 16.
Oh, that was once a great spot. We used to raise hell there. Of course, that was before I was married. I was working nights at J&L.
I like to keep most of it there. I'm going to have a sports team there.
Sounds like a good move.
I figure.
Well, who's your lender? I assume you're getting a loan.
To tell you the truth, they turned me down.
Who?
Iron and glass.
Huh. I guess I'm not surprised.
Seeing that Nick has cleared the table of solid colored balls, Uncle John sets his cue stick against the wall. He makes a drink for his nephew. Then he grabs a cigar and his own glass of whiskey, which he set on the bar.
I put together some backing, but I need $40K.
Who are the other investors?
Well, me, my mom, Audrey, and one other guy from VFW. I have $10,000 saved up from overtime.
Uh-huh.
As Uncle John leans up on the bar drinking, Nick rests his butt against the pool table. Then he notices the way Uncle John stares at him. Nick stands up straight and sips his drink.
ING said it would float me a loan if I had a co-signer.
Nick pauses as if filled with expectation.
I was wondering if you would do that.
Uncle John focuses on the contents of his glass. After a long pause, he takes 2 toques on a cigar.
What kind of food you gonna serve?
Typical bar stuff. Burgers, wings.
How many employees?
3 at first. Me, Vanessa, and a buddy who tends bars.
What will you do when your buddy needs a half day off and Vanessa has to stay home with Millie?
Sophia.
Sophia.
I don't know. Find subs, I guess.
How much is your workman's comp?
I don't know, but I can find out.
What if a customer slips on a spilled gin and breaks his back? You got a good attorney?
I'll get one.
What are the population projections for that part of town 10 years down the road?
What's this about?
These are all things you need to know, Nicholas.
Nicholas. That's what the nuns called me when I was in trouble.
You can't go into an undertaking of this magnitude without a plan. I know from experience.
Got it. Noted.
Who's your supplier for kegs?
Koch Distribution, the same one Moriarty uses.
What about meat, vegetables now?
I got a guy on Smallman Street, the place where I work now.
Who's gonna cook?
Vanessa.
What are you gonna do when a customer complains that her food stinks?
They won't.
Nick takes a drink.
What's with the interrogation?
Hey, Nicholas.
I thought you might have a little extra money lying around after buying all that cheap Chinese steel.
Where did you hear that?
Nick pauses, gathers himself. He knows he's agitated his uncle, but he's not backpedaling.
Hey, don't come in here on your high horse about foreign steel.
So it's true.
I make no apologies. I'm running a business.
Mm-hmm.
I got 60 employees. If I don't keep an eye on expenses, I gotta lay some of them off. That includes your Uncle Jake.
Companies always say that.
That's 'cause it's true.
Haven't you already forgotten you used to work with J&L? I mean, where's your sense of loyalty?
So you just come into my house and disrespect me. I just let you use my cottage, for Christ's sake.
Uh-huh.
We just gave you and Vanessa all that expensive silverware for your wedding.
Which you skipped.
Uncle John hears the cellar door creak open. He pauses to listen. He makes a visible effort to calm himself.
Alice is gonna bark at me about my blood pressure.
Uh-huh.
I'm sorry. I got a little carried away.
If you don't want to co-sign for my loan, just say so, instead of putting me through the ringer.
Uncle John approaches Nick and puts his hand on his shoulder.
I've always liked and respected you, Nick. And I'm not just saying that 'cause you're my brother's kid.
I'm not asking you to give it to me. I'm asking you to loan me the money. It's not even a loan. It's just a co-sign.
I'd like to see you succeed. But there's a lot of risk involved. If your bar fails, I'm on the hook.
Believe me, I don't like asking for help.
I tell you what. I'll talk to the accountant and see what I can do. What's your deadline?
I said I'd get back to them in a week.
At the top of the stairs, the door cracks open and a little voice says, "Papa."
She's there. The characters in this scene are Jake DeMarco, who will be played by Tony, Will Rooney, who will be played by Roger, Renee Morrison, who will be played by Mary, and Bill will again read the stage directions. It's late November. Nick continues to wait on Uncle John's decision regarding the bank loan. Audrey has broken up with Dominic. As the scene opens, we're in north central Pennsylvania. It's late on a Tuesday night. The three college students, riding in Renee's gunmetal gray BMW, are on their way to Pittsburgh for the Thanksgiving holiday. They decide to stop for coffee. After parking the car, Jake leads Renee and Will into a 24-hour diner. Three middle-aged men, all seated at the counter, turn and stare at Renee as she leads the two cousins to a booth in the back. Will takes a seat on the opposite side of the couple. Jake orders apple pie, and they all ask the waitress for coffee. As they wait, Jake grabs a newspaper from the rack and opens it to the stock market index. Will produces a stack of index cards. In preparation for their trip home, he's been tutoring Renee in the foreign language known as Pittsburghese. Note, when Will's at school, he goes by the second half of his given name, William.
Yeah, before I forget, I need to remind you that my family all calls me Will.
Jake rolls his eyes as he scrutinizes the stock prices.
Enough with the Liam shit, alright?
You ready?
This is my last chance to prep.
Will sorts through the index cards. As the waitress sets down the coffee and pie, Will takes a card and holds it for Renee to read.
Okay, let's do it. First one.
Nebby means nosy. Don't be so nebby in asking questions.
Good.
Will turns up a new card.
How about this one?
Slippy. That's easy. In Spanish class, it's called a cognate.
In Pittsburghese class, it's called swallowing some of your letters.
Slippy means slippery, as in, the roads were slippy tonight after that ice storm.
Hey, you're a natural.
Will shuffles the cards like he's a dealer in poker. Then he plucks a new card from the stack and shows it.
Downton means downtown. Downton, there was lots of traffic.
Okay, this one separates the women from the girls.
Will holds up a new card.
Yints, you plural. Why was Yints talking about me?
Excellent.
I'm a lucky guy with a girlfriend who's bilingual.
Will picks out a card from the back of the stack.
Pronunciation, please.
Red sounds just like the color. Means tidy up the house, clear the dinner dishes, etc.
Will holds up a new card.
What about this?
Do I have to say it?
Afraid so.
Jagoff.
Will shares a grin with Jake, who looks up from the newspaper for a moment.
It wasn't so bad.
Jagoff, a term of general disparagement.
Jake almost spits out his coffee. Then he and Will laugh their asses off.
No, sweetie. A jagoff is a prick.
I would argue a jagoff is the same as an asshole. I think I prefer her definition. Whenever I'm mad at you, cuz, I'm going to say, Jake, you're a term of general disparagement.
Will flips a new card.
Cheat jet?
Renee scratches her chin.
I don't remember this one from the lecture, Professor.
Hint. This one is apropos, I think, on account of Thanksgiving.
Don't help her.
Will looks at Jake.
G-Jet?
No, Jew.
I'm confused.
I just asked Jake whether he'd eaten.
And I replied, no. Did you?
Quite a rich language, and yet very economical.
Will holds up a card.
Okay, here's an easy one.
Renee clears her throat.
Stillers. Steelers, the Pittsburgh football team.
And?
Winners of the Super Bowl in 1974, 1975, and 1978.
And?
Oh, in 1979.
Will flips through several cards before he finds the one he's seeking. He shows it.
So, we're working our way up to this one.
Nat. Sentence ending. Sort of means and so forth. We got company, so I read up the house on that.
Outstanding.
Thank you. I've been studying really hard. I'm pretty nervous.
Why?
I'll be meeting not just your mom and dad, but your extended family.
Will hands her a blank card and a pen.
Okay, take some more notes. Okay, first of all, don't ask Jake's dad about his job.
Absolutely not.
After he was laid off at the mill, he got work at my dad's warehouse, and he hates it.
I love Uncle John, but Dad thinks he's a jagoff as a boss. He kinda lords it over him.
I see. What else?
Uncle Ned. He's our oldest uncle. If you happen to sit next to him at Thanksgiving, ask him his opinion. He doesn't talk much, but he loves to be asked his opinion.
Opinion about what?
Anything.
This isn't some trick like, hey, what do you think of Jimmy Carter? And then he launches into an hour-long diatribe about the Iran hostage crisis.
You'll be lucky to get 2 words from him. He's very shy.
He'll be even more shy around you. He'll be dazzled by your beauty.
I'm sure.
Okay, Cousin Nick is opening a bar. He's excited about that. On the downside, Audrey just broke up with her boyfriend, an older guy who used to coach Jake and me in football. It's like her first boyfriend in a really long time. She's pretty devastated, I imagine.
How'd you know all this?
My mom. I used to read Odd's letters, but I couldn't keep up.
How could you? There are so many.
Okay, Jake might not read her letters, but he loves to cash the enclosed checks.
Jake flashes his middle finger at Will and then resumes his briefing with Renee.
Okay, politics is taboo. Don't talk about the coming out ceremony you and I attended for my old roommate. Everyone is a Reagan Democrat, and my dad is a Reagan Republican. Aunt Sarah is still devastated about JFK's assassination, so don't bring that up.
I'll try not to.
Jake finishes his pie.
How do you feel about green bean casserole with the Campbell's mushroom soup and the jerky fried onions on top?
I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, right. When's the last time you had it?
Easter at my aunt's house.
Renee sticks out her tongue at Jake.
Oh, and you're gonna see a lot of Jell-O salads this weekend. A lot of Jell-O salads.
Like double digits on the Jell-O salads.
All right.
And most important, when we're at school, Will and I go to Mass every week.
So you want me to lie?
Yes!
What's your affiliation? You're not Catholic, Jake tells me.
We're Episcopalians.
Oh, that's perfect. It'll make it easier for you to trick them.
Just drop into your conversations a few Father so-and-so and a few our priest says.
You'll be golden. What's the name of your church? St. Paul, St. Timothy's?
St. Paul's.
Yeah, so it'll go better for both of you if they don't think you're a Protestant. There'll be fewer questions.
Now I'm really concerned.
We'll cover for you. I know for a fact that we're all sitting together at dinner. Mom has a seating chart.
Jake shakes his head. He appears fatigued by Will's banter.
Ready to get back on the road?
I need to make a quick trip to the ladies' room.
In the car, we can work on your Pittsburgh sports history.
As long as Jake studies his Boston sports.
Well, that's easy. The Celtics, Bobby Orr, we're done.
What about Babe Ruth?
No fair talking about the curse of the Bambino.
Watch it.
What?
You were coveting my girlfriend's butt.
There is a long silence as Jake folds his newspaper.
She told me you used to stare at her in English class.
She told you that?
She thinks you had a crush on her.
I did. Then I got a better sense of her taste in men and I lost interest.
You were pretty chummy that night at the Union. Drinking coffee, yakking it up.
Yeah, and then you swooped in and stole her from me.
I didn't steal her. And stop acting like a dick, telling her that business about me cashing Odd's checks.
Will's head moves back as if to avoid a punch. There is a long, pregnant pause.
So you're not gonna say anything about me getting quartered.
Of course not.
It's the rules. No brother is supposed to talk about what happens at our chapter meetings. Ever.
You know, that's funny. All of a sudden you're following house rules.
Jake smirks.
Go to hell.
You really think Renee isn't gonna hear?
She cannot know.
She'll find out.
From me. When it's the right time. I'll tell her I quit. I stopped going down the house a while ago. She won't know the difference.
What happens when she sees you didn't get the big, fancy New York job at Lemon Brothers? Without a reference from Henley's father, you got no shot.
I've been laying the groundwork for that. I told her the other day I wasn't so keen on working in New York, so far from my family.
Will moves his index finger from the bridge of his nose outward by a foot, a gesture meant to suggest Pinocchio. That's followed by a long pause.
I just think it's bullshit that I got quartered.
Uh-huh.
I was gonna return the money.
Sure you were, Jake.
You You don't believe me?
Renee comes back. She notes the sudden hush that's fallen over Jake and Will. Renee grins.
Yins were talking about me, weren't ya?
Alright, scene 5. The characters in scene 5 are Nick, who is played by Greg, Will, who's played by Roger, Jake, played by Tony, Renee, played by Mary, Uncle Ned, played by Fred, Aunt Alice, played by Kimla, and Bill will read the stage directions. It's Thanksgiving evening at Uncle John's house in Pittsburgh's East End neighborhood. Uncle John has asked his accountant to look into Nick's plans for the sports bar. Noting the lack of a business plan, as well as his nephew's lack of experience, Uncle John and the accountant agree that he should not co-sign for a loan. Uncle John saw Nick again on Wednesday when his nephew brought over 2 card tables and his mother's coffee urn for the holiday gathering. Before he informed him of his decision, Uncle John had Nick fix a minor plumbing problem in the bathroom of the master bedroom. As the scene opens, Will has just come inside from the annual game of touch football. This Thanksgiving, he's the only one of the older cousins to play, serving as steady quarterback for the younger kids. He joins Jake, Renee, and Nick at 2 card tables in the living room. Other family members sit at tables in other parts of the house, young children and mothers in the kitchen, aunts and uncles in the dining room, teenagers in the basement, far from Uncle John's pool table. The house is redolent of roast turkey, sage, and pumpkin pie. Dinner is about to begin as Will enters the living room.
Who won?
It was a tie, 40-40.
That sounds like you.
All the kids went home.
Unhappy.
Game called on account of the QB was hungry for Aunt Ida's mashed potatoes.
Did you give all the kids a trophy?
Maybe. All I can say is at least I was in the arena while you bums were in here drinking my dad's Heineken.
They asked me to quarterback first. My back's been bothering me now.
Will and Renee exchange quick looks at the first enact of the evening.
I'm pretty sure they asked me first. I didn't want to leave Renee alone with Nick. I was afraid he would start hitting on her.
So I was their third choice? Man.
Nick takes a sip of his beer and then shakes his head.
Your dad couldn't play even, citing his hosting duties now.
Will and Renee exchange looks again at the second enact. Nick appears perplexed.
In fact, Uncle Ned turned him down before you. Said he forgot his leather helmet.
Jake and Nick laugh, high five.
You guys are hilarious.
Aunt Ida, Audrey's mother, arrives with Uncle Ned, her brother. Aunt Alice and Nick go to greet them. Alice takes the foil-covered dishes of mashed potatoes and jello salad. Respectful of Aunt Ida, Nick kisses her on the cheek. Then he helps her remove her coat and hangs it in the hall closet with Mr. Rogers' like care. He comes back to their table.
Where's Odd?
I guess Dominic phoned. Said he was spending Thanksgiving alone and all said he sounded depressed. She should be coming later.
Yeah, maybe they're getting back together.
Nick shakes his head.
I doubt it.
Uncle John stands in the doorway between the dining room and living room, his head bowed. He taps a wine glass with a spoon to silence the children. A group of him stand by the door at the top of the basement stairs. He leads the family in the blessing and then thanks God for a year of prosperity.
Between us, I think Dom lost patience with her. You know all, she wants to do it the traditional way. Date, get engaged, marry, give birth to like 6 kids. Dom, he wanted to skip a few steps. She told me at the fair, he said that he wanted to shack up with her.
Yeah, she wouldn't go for that.
She's better off without him after the way he treated her. I see him around town with a woman named Marianne Fisher. I got a buddy who lives down the street from her. He had confirmed that Dom spent the night at her place.
A moment later, Uncle John moves from room to room, supervising. In the living room, he pokes a log in the fireplace, sending sparks into the air. Then he turns off a lamp and goes into the hall where he is seen adjusting the thermostat. Nick watches with interest. Uncle John returns to the dining room.
Wouldn't want to pay a few extra pennies on electric.
No, he wouldn't. He's like the light switch Gestapo. It's pretty annoying.
This place got central air?
Will nods.
Nice.
It is, it's a beautiful home.
But to be honest, I miss the old place. I like sleeping with the window open at night.
You're crazy. You like inhaling all that soot from J&L?
All that soot cuz is what put food on the table and a roof over our heads.
Man, I miss all the South Side characters. This place is so bland.
Uncle Ned comes to the table with a heaping plate of turkey, mashed potatoes, green bean casserole, and red Jello salad. As usual, he was first in line at the buffet in the kitchen.
Did you leave any for us, Uncle?
Alice told me I'm supposed to sit at the college students' table.
This ain't the college student table.
Aunt Alice comes and informs the college student table that it's their turn at the buffet. The college students and Nick head in the kitchen to fill their plates. Each comes back. For the first few moments, they eat quietly.
Your mom has a pretty elaborate seating chart. Saw it hanging up in the kitchen.
Uncle Ned stares at Renee, who smiles back.
It's like a wedding reception.
Exactly.
So how's married life treating you?
Nick talks as he chews.
Good, good.
Did you get married? I saw you with Sophia.
My stepdaughter.
You're so good with her. I assumed she was yours.
She's one gutsy kid, I'm telling you. She's got really bad asthma.
Oh.
The Pittsburgh air can't be helping.
Pittsburgh air, wake up. Nowadays it's like Tenosta out there.
Renee looks at Jake from out the gate.
And Vanessa?
Ready to pop. She's due in a few weeks.
Will glances at Uncle Ned, who's trying to corral his Jello salad with a fork.
You know, Odd's gonna be over your house every day with gifts and incessant offers to babysit, etc., etc.
Jake notices Renee staring at him.
Sorry we couldn't make it to the wedding, Chief. Heard it was fun.
It was fun. It was a lot of fun.
This guy, I tried to fix him up with one of Vanessa's cousins.
Let me guess. He wimped out.
This is the woman who called a blitz and then shoved a little girl out of the way so she could grab the bouquet.
It would have been funny, except it was Delchi, my best man's 5-year-old.
Jake, you didn't tell me you had a family wedding.
Renee looks at Nick.
When was it?
4 weeks ago.
What were we doing?
Renee puts her hand over her mouth.
Vermont. We were in Vermont.
Huh? What's in Vermont?
We went skiing.
Your mom told me you had some major report in 2 papers and that you had to prep for an on-campus interview that came up last minute. That's why you couldn't come?
Renee looks at Jake, realizes she said too much, and falls quiet.
That's right. And after all that, we went up to Vermont just for a day. It's like 2 hours away. It was real spur of the moment.
Nick holds up his green beer bottle, sees it's empty, and rises and heads in the direction of the basement, where the beer fridge is located.
I'm making a bear run. Anyone?
All shake their heads as Nick goes down to the basement. Uncle Ned carries his plate into the kitchen.
What the hell?
You didn't tell me you had a wedding.
Christ, maybe you should just keep your mouth shut the rest of the night, huh?
Jake, come on.
What, Liam? You're not exactly helping.
Nick soon returns with the beer. Uncle Ned brings back a heaping plate of turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes, and orange Jello salad. All have fallen quiet. Will's eyes roam the table as if he's assessing the situation.
So, Uncle Ned, I'd like your opinion.
Sure.
It's a common problem, but I never know how to handle it. I'm coming down 19 and the left lane's about to be closed for construction. There's lane closure signs and orange barrels all over the place. Cars begin to funnel into the right. I could have waited a while and continued down the left lane and merged later, but I find an opening and I slip into the right. So, we're creeping up, and when I get to the merge point, there's a car waiting, trying to nudge its way into my lane. Just seconds ago, this car roared past about 1 million other vehicles, raced right past all of us, and now the driver wants cuts. What do you do?
Is it a chick or a dude?
Renee clucks and rolls her eyes.
Well, let's say it's a woman.
Is she hot?
Is that important?
If she's hot, I let her merge. If she's a dog, I say forget it.
What if she's got a nice face, but she's a little chubby?
No fat chicks.
What do you think, Uncle Ned?
Let me ask you this. Do you care about what car she's driving?
If it's a piece of shit, I don't let her cut.
What if it's an expensive car?
What's expensive?
Will looks at Renee.
Okay, what if it's a Mercedes, or better yet, a Beamer?
To hell with a douchebag.
A voice warns from the dining room. Hey, language.
Beamer drivers are human beings, you know.
I disagree. I say screw 'em.
When I make my first million, Nick, I'm getting a Beamer for myself and one for you.
How about that?
I'd rather have a new F-150.
It's not a sin to have money, Chief.
As long as you work for it.
Uncle, let me ask you. You started with this city out of high school, right? How did you get your job?
Dad knew a guy.
Of course. How about you? Your fancy Wall Street job? How'd you get that?
A connection at school.
What about your dad? How did he get into nail manufacturing?
Mom's dad took him into the business.
Connections. Connections. It's all about connections. What do you do if you ain't got no connections now?
Renee and Will again trade glances at Annette. They both grin.
What's so funny?
Nothing, Nikki.
Who said to call me Nikki?
I'm sorry.
Tell me, what's up with the sneaky smiles?
Just an inside joke.
These two have a lot of inside jokes. In the car coming down, it was one after the other.
Oh yeah? What kind of inside joke?
It's just a silly joke.
I like silly jokes. Tell me.
Take it easy, cuz.
Come on, let's hear a silly joke.
Come on, Nick, she's our guest.
You maybe got a problem with the way we talk?
I think it's quaint.
Quaint.
Come on, cuz, ease up, huh?
Nick, come on.
And you with your pretentious Liam shit.
Easy, Nicholas.
Nick takes a long pull on his beer.
You three have been looking down on us ever since you got into town.
Nick.
Fuck all of you.
Nick,
So I asked you to be a groomsman and you went skiing.
I did.
You didn't even call to say you weren't going to be there.
I apologize, cuz. I had a tough season with my knee injury, and classes, and my senior thesis, and all that. It just slipped my mind. Job interviews. I had job interviews like every other day.
We rented a tux and everything.
I feel so bad. It's really my fault.
Nick scowls at Jake and then Will.
And what about Frank's funeral?
Will glances at Jake, who's moved beyond regret to anger.
I feel really bad about that.
There's a long silence.
So, he was a selfish jerk at times. So what? He was our first cousin. You guys grew up with him. You went trick-or-treating with him. You played wiffle ball with him in the alley. You went to the pirate openers, picnics at South Park. You spent every Thanksgiving, Christmas, and Easter with him. You spent hours together on a boat in canoe.
Having given up on Jake, Nick focuses on Will.
How many times did he untangle your line when you were little? And your dad couldn't be bothered, huh? And you didn't even make the effort to come to his funeral.
You're right. I messed up big time. We stayed at school rather than come back here where we belong.
Nick faces Jake.
What do you have to say, huh?
Jake shrugs.
At least for our sake, you could have come.
And Nick's right.
But Jake, you were too busy kissing corporate ass so you could get that investment banking job, huh? Then once you get the job, maybe you can become a buyout specialist. Lay off a bunch of hard-working Americans. That should be fun, right? Because it's all about cutting costs and making shareholders happy. It's all about that, right? It's all about the bottom line. It's very noble work, huh, cuz? Something to make you and your family proud.
Aunt Alice comes into the living room and first she concentrates her attention on Nick.
What is it?